Welcome to Shameless Mayhem presenting Aristeia Roundtable. This is being made on February 16th. This is Monday the 17th, 2020.
We know what
we're doing a full roundtable discussion on Aristeia, the tabletop battle arena game. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to discuss on chat or in the comments if you have anything else to say. Today we are featuring Chikahiro, BanzaiZAP, and Kipahuligan.
I believe we have the disembodied voice of Primus as well.
Hello.
Overwatching and doing technical.
Yep, basically somebody's got to run the board today. Also, there's really no need to see my face on camera. Nobody needs to see that.
He really just wants to
Although
abuse his
he appeared
authority.
in the last roundtable that we did. Today we're doing a discussion, specifically this one.
Double Trouble.
The new characters coming out.
New expansion coming out at the end of February. We've got a glass cannon named Lei Gong and an up-close, in-your-face berserker beast of a damage dealer named Moonchild. Both of them look very interesting to play, and we'll be looking into a few ways they may synergize with other characters and maybe just some ideas of things we want to try and do to make people go splat with them.
We'll probably go splat first. That's usually how it goes.
Splat.
Now, these characters have a brand new mechanic where they can actually switch to a different character type during the middle of the game. Each character type has a completely unique set of rules, but they do sort of refer back to each other. So these are changelings within the game, hence the name of the group.
Now, one thing, there was a bit of confusion when Double Trouble was announced that I guess there's a translation error or something. So there's like, oh boy, for $20 American, you get 2 characters with 4 models. And unfortunately, that's not the case.
Oh, okay.
I am hoping, though, that they release alternate skins of that.
I did
So
see
that when it transforms, you can actually swap out the model.
Yeah,
for
Lei Gong, not such a big deal. But certainly with Moonchild, I think having 2 different versions would be really awesome.
I did see a little bit of talk about that, but I never saw the resolution.
So it is 2
wouldn't mind
different
having 2
character
models as well.
cards, but only 1 model for each figure.
Exactly.
At this time.
At
Again,
this
we're
time.
hoping for alternate skins like they've been doing for most of the other characters. It's especially appropriate for Double Trouble. So we're going to start with Li Gong, I believe.
Yeah, and we can jump right into him. He's a glass cannon, 5 energy, 5 movement, which is very nice in reality. 4 life points, damage.
Well, it's
hit points.
5
There we
health,
go.
which is actually
Health, 4 health.
fairly standard. The glass cannon.
This is his first form. Where he's got 5 movement, 5 energy. And this is a guy who can transform pretty much at will. I see him as 1 form, the Veritech fighter zipping about. 2nd form, he braces into the wave motion gun.
So the kind of to play out the glass cannon aspect, when he's in his initial profile, the initial form, his defense is a blue and it is a black. So
His defense.
not the greatest defense. It's not bad. It's not, but it's not great.
Not great.
The fact it's split over 2 dice does help a little bit, I feel. But when he transforms into the God of Lightning mode, it goes to a straight green. A single green.
Single
It's
green.
an interesting, so it's not more powerful, but it has a lot more potential.
It has more potential, but
One
I
can
feel
go up to
it,
3 shields, the other one can actually remove their main attack.
Yeah, I mean it's
Right.
a full die removal if you hit the actual success, which ain't bad.
Critical.
it's not bad, but I feel it's going to be more swingy as a result.
Yeah.
I've noticed, at least from my
Moving
preferences,
back maybe a little more reliable
I
for a couple of
prefer
shields.
I prefer reliability. When you get the red die and the green die, it's very dramatic. It's very intimidating, but in practice, that 1 in 6 never comes up quite as often as you'd hope.
Keller hit it on me last week. It was highly annoying.
Sure.
You have bad luck with dice.
Yeah, but I really needed it on the 2nd and 3rd rolls too, and
Right.
those did not happen.
I'm okay with it.
It helps when you're using the tactical deck that lets you get the rerolls.
Yes.
Because then it
This is
helps
true.
balance out that a little bit.
It
But again,
does.
with a black and a blue, it gives you more option for the
Right.
And let's be honest, once we're on the blue side of Lei Gong, we're not here for defensive rolls.
This is true. Now we're into taking the
We're
big
here
shot.
for the closed barrage. Is that what that says? My image is blurry.
Yep, closed
But
barrage.
That is a a critical success and 2
Right.
orange die
The
at a range
critical
of 2 to
success
4.
is nice.
And
Auto critical is nice. So when he goes into wave motion gun, he goes into wave motion.
and the ability to nullify your opponent's defense on the switch, which is just impressive. His
I'll add in either tactics or Hannibal for even more bonus goodness.
I really like looking at him as a deterrent. Anywhere I put smoke, you
don't want
have to
be.
worry about it.
You don't want to be.
If I surround a zone with it, if I put 5 in random places across the board, you have to consider that Lei Gong might pop up in any one of those spots, which is going to be
So if he's playing with
a big
Kawu
concern.
and or Cosmo, for example, who's
Yeah.
also planting smoke for him to
Exactly.
play with.
exactly.
And really, all the Eugene, basically the Asian China characters,
They all go very well.
They go
together.
very well. They go very well smoked. They're very thematically centered.
Mhm.
Now, I do want to point out, though, that the Lord of Thunder transformation on its initial profile
Mhm.
is able to be silenced.
Because it is an ability,
Right.
that's true. For example, Oberon could prevent him from transforming.
Right. So that is something you do want to be leery of. And it seems like Oberon does come up as a hard counter to some characters.
Which is interesting because he's not one that a lot of people consider to be an offensive character. Most people are bringing him for the tactics abilities.
Well, I think for me, I think I've had one game with him, and I do want to bring in the
We need to
additional
get him on the field
tactics, but I tend to use him more as denial. He's a buff debuff character, which is not unusual for really support characters in this game. But trying to get that silenced, once you see Oberon there, he's kind of immediately vulnerable
Mhm.
just by virtue of knowing what
He
he
is
does.
an easy target as part of it. You need to take advantage of his red to be able to hide behind things.
And even though
Right.
that silencing is not an issue with the transformations on Moonchild,
Right.
Lei Gong is one that doesn't have the card like Moonchild
It's a
does to force
voluntary
the flip.
transformation.
So if you get that silenced, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Legong's got some interesting tactics as well, which take advantage of his new special abilities. So, for example, being able to drop smoke tokens wherever he wants. The one where he's got the ability to make them block spaces. Again, we were mentioning where he works so well with other characters. Bichet now is able to pop around a lot more
I had
effectively.
not thought of that.
You hadn't seen
I've only
that
just
too.
started looking at the tactics. I briefly glanced over them during the initial announcement.
He's
of
got
the,
some wonderful ones that take advantage not only of him, but help him work well with others. Right now, being able to, the one that's being shown, auto damage, and then either slowing them down or slowing
And a
them down.
Yeah, it's a horrible card in the right situation in a blitz or a capture the flag game because being able to shred the enemy team's movement or that initiative order, I mean, that's big. That'll win you games.
Not to mention, auto damage isn't actually all that common. Being able to pop damage on somebody with no dice roll and no defense, that can be critical either to finish somebody off or to set up something like Valkyrie's Cry.
and it gives
or
me a
Lord
thematic
Terry's Leap.
reason to add him to team No Movie for You.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
well.
more movement debuff.
I would say to when just looking at that, with the advent of both TCOM and Sterling Forge, No
You
is
haven't really
a
seen his
lot.
tactics, have
Yeah,
you?
No is a lot less common
Yes.
as a result. And
Now you don't always have to worry about the no coming up, so holding on to certain cards.
And this
So yeah,
one,
this one where you make a friend basically invulnerable while they're in your smoke. So again, playing with Tawu/Cosmo means you're screwing these safe zones if you're holding that as a pocket card.
and then coupled with what I was saying earlier, the next turn you have to worry about potentially 4 or 5 new spots. He can just
pop.
be.
right.
Wow. What do we got here? Okay, so that's our production guy doing a great job. He's not glaring at me. I'm impressed. So
So here's
let's
a
see.
case where as long as you're not planning on using an attack,
Ooh.
especially like the first turn
Interesting.
before people are in range anyway,
Yeah. So,
being able to pop that where you need and then the rest of your team can take advantage of it. Being able to put it anywhere.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That is nice.
Have Cosmo go first, pop some smoke over here. He goes, pops himself on the board, and now we've got a great opening position.
Excellent.
It's
Well,
sort of
well,
like Gaia can reposition as her opening move.
And setting yourself up. I'm a big fan of setting yourself up for the next round. Certainly,
Yes.
well, you should always be thinking about it. Certainly, by the middle of that first round, you really got to be thinking about it. So,
Yes.
putting that
Certain scenarios, it's critical.
if you're going to be underdog and choosing the next location, using that ability, then getting him out of the scoring zone, which will in turn be the next scoring zone, is
Put
pretty
him
good.
right next to where you plan
Right.
on setting the
Right.
scoring
It's
zone.
one of the things I was trying to work on with my games of Blitz with Primus
Did
and
very well getting
BanzaiZAP.
Maximus
couple
well
of times
positioned
I
there.
managed to get guys positioned very well for the next turn. Didn't always work out, but the positioning was working. So
Well, life happens.
yeah, well, it's good to see these tactics and actually start to use them and an understanding of how the time flow of the game happens.
And just in case these cards are flashing up on screen a little bit too fast for you, they are all online at the main Aristeia website, aristeia.com/characters.
Actually, it's Aristeia
The game.
.com.
Yep.
And they'll have they've got a great wiki over there. They got FAQs. They
All
got
the characters
all
and
sorts of stuff.
tactics are free to view.
It's actually
And
a very
also
robust
Scenario
website.
rules is excellent.
I'm going to go ahead and give
Good
a real shout out from everything I've seen. Corvus Belly does the best game support I've seen, hands down. They don't
They're very
they
hands-on.
don't mug you for rules. They don't force you to go get an app. It's all on the on their website, which is accessible mobile.
Free download PDF.
If you need updated rules for, say, Games Workshop, you got to wait. They don't really do PDFs.
Mhm.
And when they sell digitally, it's like almost the same cost as a print book.
Yeah, it's Games Workshop.
No need to talk about other rules.
Right.
We'll keep focused.
But I just want to say, awesome support, and I have not seen better yet. Second place is a distant second place, period. So
Li Gong is all about using his smoke in normal mode and going for a kill shot in his blast mode. So the other Double Trouble character, Moonchild, she's a normal character doing normal stuff until she goes berserk.
Oh, and I'm so looking forward to that.
And when she goes
Oh.
berserk, she will eat your face,
Oh.
and then eat his face, and then eat her face.
She's just once she flips. I mean, don't
But
get
her
me
normal
wrong.
mode is interesting because she is so vulnerable with only 2 hits, even though she wants to get up close and personal. She's got a good, decent ranged attack, and the advantage of a blue die in the ranged attack means your opponent won't kill you right back.
it's a little bit safer. But the thing is you actually want them to do that. And it's one of those. So Tao Wu from Smoke and Mirrors, you don't want to attack him because he is going to take cards off of you,
Mhm.
which makes him a very interesting deterrent. In this situation, you don't want to
To
attack
Moonchild,
her because
she will Hulk out.
she will Hulk out. And
Don't make her angry.
if they don't, she does have the ability to say, I can kind of hurt myself and take health off that way using Inner Beast.
Yeah. So as
which-
long as she does a combat encounter, she can flip out.
Yeah,
Now-
she's versatile and she does a little bit of damage in this one. But like you said, she's a little bit squishy. But that ranged attack is not bad.
Mostly, she that's her trigger when she wants. Otherwise, she's running around to get position. She's got a decent movement, decent energy, but she's really there to set up when she goes berserk.
I would say she's also pretty good at disengaging. So not disengaging. She is good at disengaging, but also keeping someone
She's
there
got
with a
orange
blue and a
dot.
black.
Well, it helps her
Overall.
switch for disengaging.
Right.
She gets a shield, she can prevent you from slowing her
Right,
down.
which kind of forces your hand.
Right.
But we're here for the blue card.
Well, but she was also the recipient of an errata, actually,
Oh,
just
we had
earlier in
already?
the week.
I
Yeah,
missed that.
because if you look at the card as it's printed, it suggests that she only needs to take 1 damage and then she can flip. The errata is that no, she does actually have to take both of those damage boxes
so she
before
needs
she
to-
can flip.
So
She
after-
needs to go to the infirmary.
So similar to Singular Massacre, it's after receiving damage, but before being sent to the information.
Correct,
And
yes.
that's the key. Both conditions have to be met.
Yep.
But it must be also having the infirmary. Okay.
Right.
Well, it's also nice that can't be silenced. So Oberon's
Right.
can't turn that off, and then you just shoot her off the board.
Right.
But when she does go berserk, she becomes a little more interesting. Not only does she have more energy, but her bite becomes terrifying.
I believe she is the first Aristo to have 6 energy by default.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
frightening,
Oh
I mean,
my
in and
gosh,
of
she
itself.
It makes
3
her-
bites without any outside help per go.
Makes her
And those
incredibly
bites are just monstrous.
3 movements,
She
3
keeps
bites.
her switch that removes your shields, which is so delightful.
And I think that probably one of the most impressive things on this card to me is total immunity. Like, no, you can't have your switches if you're targeting me. It's rude.
So,
and I
for
love it.
example, Wild Bill doesn't get his extra shot or the extra attack.
Musashi would not get
Musashi.
extra sword attacks.
No extra sword
Yeah.
attacks.
Right.
Fiddler,
But it's
same
a
thing.
combat roll, so the green abilities and things don't trigger this. But if you're fighting her, no switches for you. So Hannibal's a great choice to open up because he doesn't have any switches anyway.
So the one thing to notice is that, like other, like I said, with Axel Steel, Wild Bill, there are preferred ways to deal with them. And with her defensive switch that you see, she does not like being attacked at range. Now, range
Yeah.
1 to 2 is she'll get that switch and it's enabled. So if you can be 3 away, good. So
She's like Axel, you want to just shoot down like him.
pretty much.
She does have some good tactics. Have you seen her tactics yet?
There is actually a second errata. Apparently, Moondoggy gets a lot of erratas in that it was ruled that you only have to use that berserk attack once at the top of your turn. That you are not forced into, if there are multiple people surrounding you, you do not have to go choppy, choppy, choppy. But berserk fires off once, and then you can go about your
okay.
normal day's business of hacking everybody else to shreds.
Seeing as you have 4 energy at that point, you have plenty of options.
Right.
So her tactics are all about taking advantage of going berserk and eating people. Strangely enough,
I'm cool with it. I am.
the red teleport just for doing so.
No
is a
line of
beautiful
sight
thing.
required is fantastic. This is similar to Super Jump from Muter.
It's both offensive and defensive. If you need to get her out of dodge,
Well,
or if you want to dive into.
Can you go
Kingdom
back real
Hell.
quick to that one? Is place yourself to adjacent to an enemy target with a range 1 to 4.
No line of sight.
No line of sight. So defensively, I'm a little.
For example, if you're in the middle of the scrum, it could put
okay.
you out to the edge of the
There you
scrum.
go. There. Okay.
That type of thing.
Okay. There you go. I understand now. Okay.
Now, this
So-
one, switch changes.
Yeah, you think you just have 3 attacks this round?
It adds this way.
No, you could get 6.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
If the switches go off well, you become a blend. It's
So-
a delightful thing.
This is a good time to bring in, say, yellow dice, especially because she can't benefit from focus.
Which
handed out
bums
by
me out
Lash.
right now.
Yeah, so she would need some state removal support, I feel. Certainly, her with immobilize would be a very depressing thing.
She's like Hammerhead that you really want to be able to
Right.
get into play, but she doesn't have the range.
So this is going to be a very unfriendly card for those of you with bifocals because it has
A lot of
a
text.
lot of text.
Mostly because it's got a different effect depending on where she's at right at the time. It helps her
Nice.
movement and getting around when she's in normal form, and when she's going berserk, then it's all about
Oh, wow.
doing more damage.
Yeah, the
Does-
idea
does
of
damage on
just
the way
doing
out.
damage on the
Yeah.
way out, I mean, that's frightening.
I'm
Because,
all for it.
we like to play, since, as we're going to get into our F the meta
Our
discussion a little bit later, we like to play with a lot of the lighter hit point characters, the 2s and the 3s that
We
are
have a
out
lot
there.
of teams that
And
are
one
really
damage can be the difference between you still
Yeah.
being there and blocking a lane and you being gone.
And this also means with the extra dice, she may just go running around in circles around a scrum so she can trigger everybody as long as she's still disengaging.
And Primus and I were discussing earlier the idea of opening up or even just using during the match a Pyrogenesis with Gaia and her in Dog Warrior form.
Drop her
And
right
that-
where you want her.
That second portion, as she leaves and disengages and still pulls damage on the way out, just makes that even nastier. Because, yeah, dropping her in the middle of an initial deployment zone is going to be mean if you can keep her alive until the second turn. Or unless you can do enough damage
Well-
to actually pull an attack real quick.
And speaking of that initial deployment turn,
Here's
damage
your
to
main
yourself.
way to get rid of
yes,
states from her.
Force
when necessary.
transmutation, the ability that Lei Gong doesn't have. You can just play this card and flip.
What's
Unfortunately,
interesting,
you do
this
get-
is also, unless you aren't paying attention, you might try to use this to turn her back to normal. But it specifically states in the trigger when you use it that you can only use it to turn her berserk.
Now, it's also, this is interesting because I saw a ruling on this earlier. So when you come in from, well, see, that doesn't make sense to me. It was the idea was to use this card to flip her
Right.
as she came in off the bench, and that would remove all states, which would get rid of your -2 energy, but she just puts a -2 energy on herself. I hadn't noticed that yet.
yeah, it's
Now-
something that we found is that apparently the
Mostly
folks
so-
behind Aristeia anticipate the shenanigans that the players will
Some of
come
them,
up with to
anyway.
try and break things. And this is definitely somebody thought of, hey, I can use this card, bring in Dogface off the bench and immediately flip her and go to town. That's a little
I
overpowered.
didn't quite want that.
All we got to do is put the -2 energy in and solve the problem.
I'm okay. Since I've
Yeah.
fallen in love with Bachman, I enjoy -2 energy counters.
Yeah, well, Bachman can make them exceedingly annoying.
They're
Well,
good times.
I think one key thing to point out with that too is she has 6 energy, so
It's a
putting
lot.
it having a -2 only puts her at 4.
Slow
True.
down a little
Like,
bit.
yeah,
Is
that's
not nearly as bad.
Some people may only start
right.
at 4.
That's a very
Right.
good point. It does cripple most everybody else to a big extent, but she still gets a movement and an attack,
Right.
potentially 2 attacks if you can get to the right spot or have
Right,
somebody
and
with
her,
movement shenanigans to.
she has for a melee character like she has, the fact that her attack is a 2
Mhm.
is kind of what really factors in there. It's inexpensive, but it's very highly damaging.
Mhm.
You do
There'll
lose
be a lot of interesting combos.
it's
with
it's
these
going to
guys
be
as well.
interesting. I know certainly for me, what I was kind of thinking about is, if your opponent's playing Hexer, could they push you and move you next to a harder target that you might not necessarily want to be next to, such as Maximus, who will gladly soak up a lot of the damage.
Or Wurter, who likes being up in people's faces.
Now she's
But that effectively locks Wurter down. You have to fight the Moonchild
Right, but
because he
these
can't
are
disengage.
if these are two. I mean, if you're going to get 2 characters butting heads like that, that's actually a pretty good combination.
I can also see the tactic, her tactic doing damage on the disengage being used, where just move 2 hexes next to somebody like Gata or somebody with only 2 hit points, kill them casually as you ride by, and moving on to the next person. But
welcome to my disengages.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Even with a harder target like Maximus, if you just decide I'm going to run around him,
Yeah.
if the more disengages you successfully,
Well, he's
get,
tougher to disengage with.
right?
He's
So it does
very
balance
well.
out there, but it's still essentially uncontested damage.
And speaking of Maximus, when she flips to Dog Warrior, she's actually as beefy as the Moose.
Yeah, she's going
I
to be very
mean,
difficult to
she's-
take down.
She's a somewhat tanky berserker. That's actually 4
It's
health
gonna
is
be
pretty
fun.
impressive.
It's going to be.
I
fun.
think this is going to be a fun pair to play with. I've got a few early ideas that I think I'm going
Look
to
forward
want to
to
try
both
out.
an unboxing video and a few test rounds once they officially come out.
And
what
Double
kind of-
Trouble's release date is the 28th of this
It's,
month, so it is
supposedly
due in a
the
couple weeks.
Yeah, supposedly the 28th. We've got 2 sets on order. So as soon as it comes in, I'll
This is
pass
gonna be a
one
lot
on
of
to
fun.
Kipahuligan, and I'm going to start painting. It's really what it comes to.
fully planning on handing mine off to Nick and
Getting
a couple
some
of nice
more
paint
of our
jobs on as
sparkly-based
well.
custom jobs done.
yes.
So stay tuned. So go ahead and subscribe, and that way you're informed when these videos are made and go live, both on Twitch TV/Shameless Mayhem and YouTube.com/Shameless Mayhem. Thanks for joining us. That is our introduction to the Double Trouble. And this was, the Aristeia Roundtable presented by Shameless Mayhem.
Thank you very much for joining us, guys.